All right, so the majority of your problems are not mechanical, so probably not going to go too much in depth with that. The majority of what like your issues are, in the context of the team, are just like playing around your tank's timing. I know it's very easy for you to get impatient because in a lot of cases they can play too slow for you. But like you got to understand the difference between things you can do when your team is like playing like too slow, right, and things you can't do, right. So things you can do is like you can still harass, right. You can still like trade and contest from map control within reason. But the most important thing you can do is you can't have like important cooldowns be forced, right? You can't have all your blinks burned. You can't have your recall burned, right? And so that like is a hard limit on how aggressive you can play while you're waiting for things to happen, right? So this is fine, right? Especially since there's a mega here, you're not burning too many cooldowns for this, right? As long as you don't burn your recall here, you're chilling. Yeah, that was really good overall. That's unfortunate. Alright, so you're just holding this part of the map. Just be wary about poking this far out because it's hard for you to get support from your backline, right? So the reason why you lurk here is because you have mega, and if you back up, you can get easy support from your backline, right? You generally want to play in your half of the map unless you're sneaking out because you know that they're not pushing here. But you want to be careful about actually playing out here because if you get pushed, right, like they see you and then the tracer comes to fight you, right, you have to go all the way back to your side of the map, and that might mess up the potential dive that will happen like here, for example, right? So you want to like sort of just like not draw attention to yourself, hold the map against a tracer push potentially, right? And then once you fought her off, or if she doesn't come here, then you go flank, right? That's your general game plan. Okay, you're hiding here. That's also good. It's fine. You timed it more or less when your ball was going in as well. Alright, so you stuck around here too long. Your ball probably didn't need to leave. But at the same time, if you look what you're fighting, right? You and ball are fighting here, right? Where can your team help, right? This is the best sight line they've got to help you, right? And they're worrying about other stuff as well, right? So like once you get that kill, right? That's great. And try and deny the res, right? Focus the Mercy, not the Zarya, if you can, right? And if you can't deny the res, you can't stay here for too long, right? You just gotta back out, right? Because this is not actually where you want to fight, right? In terms of like diving, because your backline's not ready to support. If you do want to fight there, you need to call that, so that way your Ashe and your Zen like push all the way out here, right? So if you call it the rotating right side early, your backline can push into a position where they can help you. They just don't feel confident doing this right now because this guy got booped at the end of the last fight. And there's like stuff going on this side of the map that like makes it hard for these guys to help you guys, right? So like your backline's not in position to help. You and ball are fighting without help, and your ball bails a little early, and then you die for this, right? So it's good. It's good. Yeah, it's good they got the stick, right? But trading like a recall or something for like a res isn't the end of the world, right? It's not bad. Yeah, this is a pretty consistent trend with when you die, is just fighting like in positions like this. Uh, I generally don't recommend playing the same hiding spot twice, but if you think they're dumb, it's always an option. Alright, so again, this case you had the opposite issue where you waited a little too long for when your ball was doing things, right? And because the ball's engaging, right? You just gotta go on whoever's discorded, right? So Zen, if you can find him, Echo is the next best option because she's discorded and low to the ground, right? But your ball's in, right? And the ball's coming towards you, right? So they're going to look at you, right? You can't just like continue hiding here. So you gotta make your play now. Like the play started, right? Your ball's in. You gotta go for the assassination now, right? That's fine. Contesting the flank. Alright, so this is rough. You never really want to return back to point unless, or return back to like the core fight whenever you get the chance, because like your team's playing poke, right? And your ball and you are dive, right? So there's very little actual like core fight, right? There's no like big group of your team that like actually wants to take fights against big groups of the enemy team. So right here, you pushed out the flanker, you pushed out the tracer, right? So prevent her from getting out the flank, she returns back to her team, right? And then, so at this point, right? You've secured the flank for your team, right? You have all the poke in the world. The point is terrible for them, right? They have a Zarya, right? And like, what are they going to do against people here? They have no hits. They have no long range hit scan. They're playing a Zarya, right? This is just bad for them. But you made it better for them by giving them an opportunity to fight you, right? So if you just hang out over here, they can't do anything. You can actually flank around. If they don't move, their Zen like, or if like they transition here and the Zen doesn't feel confident crossing, which is most of the time, you get a free like look at his back, right? And even just hang out here. Eventually, like they're going to have to go to point with more people, and then you just go for the Zen again, right? But by going back to point, like I know you maybe I don't know what you're like if you're trying to like help Avery or something, but like Avery doesn't need help, right? If he dies, but he's ball, right? You got to do your thing. You got to make decisions that are independently good of him, and then coordinate with him when he's about to make a play, right? But this is not a decision that's independently good, right? Just going back here as opposed to just hanging out here. Alright, but now you're stuck on point, right? This tracer can outduel you with team support when you don't have team support, right? I mean, you kind of have team support, but not really. And you just made your own fight really hard. Or you clap her. Yeah. So you're fragging, but like this wasn't because of like the decision to like start fighting point, right? If you just stayed here, like the fight would just almost play itself, and you wouldn't have to outclass this tracer and then outduel the Zen down 2 blinks because you blinked like once out here and then once into his face, right? So then you had realistically one blink to really fight this guy, and I mean you clapped him too, right? But you shouldn't have to rely on this. Alright, nice. Alright, Echo. Before we move on, just going to talk mostly about your Tracer. Again, like the majority of your issues on Tracer are not mechanical based, right? It's mostly just about positioning and timing, right? Just know what you can do without Avery and what you can't, right? And in that case, like on when you went to point to help Avery, like that was an example of like you don't need to coordinate with him there because like he's not doing anything, right? He's just sitting on point trying not to die. So if you let him die, like it's not the end of the world. It's a ball. And you're not really capitalizing off anything he was doing because he was just trying not to die. He wasn't actually fighting anyone, right? So if you just hang around your position, you'll get you'll get a good look to fight the Zed eventually, right? And you just need to hang out there. And protect your team's flank, right? And if you want to flank around, like you feel like the Tracer's not going to push that angle again, that's totally fine, right? You can just go back around, right? But you never want to engage from the front, and that's what you had to do against a Zen because of your positioning, right? And then also when you're fighting in those areas, right, just keep in mind, like, not those areas, but like the area past the point, right? Just keep in mind that like where your backline is and where they can support you from. If you want to fight there, right, and you know that they're going to walk into you, right, then call that to your backline so your backline is posted more forward so they can actually provide assistance when you're fighting, right? So that's the majority of stuff for your Tracer. Let's look at your Echo now. Alright. I went too far back, hang on. Whoops. Alright. This is fine. Yeah, a lot of Echo in this mirror is just finding someone that you can shoot at safely. And that's kind of it. Who is the easiest to shoot? And that's kind of how you just need to think for the majority of time. Uh-oh. Almost. That was mostly fine. Your backline just got obliterated. No, okay. So, you don't really want to grab that health pack for a couple of reasons. One, your supports are right here, so you just wait for a second and walk over to them. You'll get healing. And second, you want to initiate your fly from higher up, so that way you have the ability like to land from higher up. It's kind of like playing fire, right? You want to like you want to start flying from higher ups. That way you still have like boosters and stuff like that. Or you start boosted from higher up, so you'll be higher overall, and you can maintain a higher altitude, right? So here you use the majority of fly trying to get over the wall, as opposed to just like flying and be able to peek the whole time from up here, right? Just because you went down for the health pack when you didn't have to. It's a bit more forgiving on Echo than Pharah, but like again, like you can't hang out there very long, and then you end up having to drop all the way back to ground level again. Good job not walking through main. This is how you die if you swing on the corner, so you swung back, which is really good. This is fine. Just keep in mind that like you don't actually have to push point that hard. If you just like fly up and camp over here, you cut off the reinforcements. You can shoot them in the back to try to run away, right? Like you're still a poke hero, even though like you can still dive, right? So you're very squishy. Your mobility isn't that fast, and you don't have a lot of like escape options, right? All of your abilities, except for fly, are like almost purely damage oriented, right? It's not like Genji or something where you have the ability to like walk in really close and then dash out, or a Tracer who can blink around all over the place and then like recall, right? You don't have those options, so be careful just like walking in straight in like this. Like I know there's a Echo, I mean, sorry, not Echo, Mercy here, but just like either like stick your nose out and be ready to fly out, or just start flying up and shooting her from over here, right? And it's just a way safer angle, right? And because it's further away, you're elevated, right? You don't have to be inside the point to do that, to do all of this. This is probably too defensive of an angle, right? So your Tracer's holding this side of the map, your Bell's on this side of the map, so you can very easily just be like up here, right? And you have support from your Echo, your Zen and your Brig, right? And that way you can A, scout this flank happening, right? And B, you just have a very safe like angle to spam, right? And the only way they can really contest you is they bring the Echo Mercy over to you, right? In which case, if they're fighting you as Echo Mercy here, and you're hanging out over here, right? Even the support of your Brig and your Zen shooting this guy and trying Discord and like healing you, right? And that's a fight that the other Echo Mercy really doesn't win very much. But like you just posted even further back than anyone else on your team. That's just probably too defensive. I know you got here late, but like you've been here for a while spamming here, and you could easily be up here by now, right? I forgot to turn the speed modifier off. Oh my god, the mess. Feels bad. Alright, this looked very like you were lost for most of this fight. Go back to when you copied the SIG. Flight routine activated. So this is fine, in a sense. Like it's like a decent copy, right? You're above him, right? If you land here, even better. If you land on top of this, right, you get to like you have high ground as a SIG, even better. But the thing to keep in mind is like you want to coordinate with what your ball is doing, and what's your ball doing? He's on the Zen, right? So the thing you kind of want to, especially in this comp, it's kind of hard to build SIG ult really fast. So what you're primarily looking to do is use Echo copy to more as a second life. You get really aggressive. Hey Pineapple. You get really aggressive, and then like once you're really in, right? Like and they start turning on you, then you copy, right? So right here, instead of like focusing so hard on copying the SIG, right? Like and your team has other ults to survive. It's not like you have to like win this fight off a tempo Echo ult. You can just drop down, kill this Zen, right? And then from there you get an actual fight, right? But you're just so focused on this copy that like you kill the Zen, right? Which is good. But like you should just kill the Zen first and then like stay Echo, right? Echo does a lot of damage, right? So if like just play really like balls to the wall, super aggressive as Echo, and then when they start turning on you, then you copy, right? There's no need to copy this early. Alright, and now you're pushing aggressively into 2 SIGs, and like 1 SIG does not beat 2 SIGs, unfortunately. Yeah, and also remember that like even though like you want to play aggressive with SIG copy, right? SIG is still SIG. You don't want to walk into them that much, right? which is another problem with copying here. Is like you weren't able like in order to like get back onto point, right? You had to walk up a ramp into a choke, right? As opposed to like starting the copy like somewhere more defensive, right? So like go really aggressive, right? And then copy like when they're out of cooldowns because they burn them trying to kill you, and now you can like start backing away and like kiting away from them, and they're even more sad, right? But you got to walk in because like you need to get on point based on your positioning. And like you also because like you copied like you killed the Zen, right? But you couldn't deny the res because like you weren't floating there as an echo, right? So yeah, it just comes down to the fact that you didn't have to copy here, right? So don't copy, right? Then you're solid panic right now. Yeah. This is fine, poking him out. I don't really like this. Drops enabled. What? But I don't really like this because your team's pushing out here, right? So you want to hold an angle that you can apply pressure, right? So from here, you can't shoot anyone, right? There's like an echo that's hard to hit. There's a Mercy who's flying, right? That's hard to hit, right? But this is really easy to hit. If you just like stuck around on this angle, you'd be able to shoot him, right? And you'd be able to contest this angle. You'd have to either back out or go in, right? And both options suck for him, right? This is just like too similar to the angle your team is already holding. Right, and now the ball bypasses you. He's on your supports, right? And this was I'm not gonna say this is all your fault, but this is largely your fault. Sim. It's an unexpected switch. Oh. Unfortunate. If you want to go high ground, by the way, I don't know if you know. I'm sure you know the spot, but you probably didn't think about it. Like, you can just jump on top of this, jump over here. You're back on high ground, and you can fight. Right? Ignore the mines. Right? All right. Next map. Do you still play Echo? Let's see.
Teleporter online. We move swiftly.
Personality
Okay.
synchronization 100%. Good to be back.
This is good poke. You should use your yeah. Okay, you're using fly now. Like you really want to be like poking from like up here, right? And then when you drop, you land here, and you can still poke them just fine, just the same, right? But you don't want to be on ground level. Like a lot of your flies are ending on ground level, and that's something you want to avoid whenever possible, right? Like just you want to end on high ground so that way you can stay on high ground if you need to, or you can start a fly from higher up, right? Which is always nicer.
The objective is now.
But like now you're stuck in an angle where you can't shoot because this angle is terrible, right? But this angle, on the other hand, is just like better, right? And this angle is even better, right? But the problem is you're stuck here, and this sucks, right? You're playing probably too defensive. They weren't actually going for you, they're going for point, so you can just hang out.
Boosting up.
This is fine. You can play really aggressive now. The only one who can actually shoot you now is like... Sorry if you get too close, I guess. This is also fine, just poke.
Target destroyed.
Alright. You gotta be a bit more careful with those stickies. Just make sure you hit them.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Junk.
I don't think that was the copy. I'm not sure that was an accident or not.
Averting personality.
I'll take care of you.
Yeah. Overall, you're just not taking very efficient poke angles. And it's like costing you like a lot of damage and pressure.
Boosting off.
This is fine. This is fine. Just please end it right here. No.
Flight routine activated.
And this flying high ground. Yes. Much better. Nice.
Finishing them off. I doubles them off. I'll do my part. Hello. Adjusting angle of attack.
Nice landing on high ground. And now you can go over in a second. You can scout which way they're going. You should really be scouting. So like land on like this high ground, right? And then go over the wall and see where they're going, right? This is actually really important, so your team can set up around that fight. Or around the location they're pushing.
Taking off.
So now they're going high ground, right? But like, where's your ball? Like your ball's out of like just not ready for this, right? And your tracer is like in front of your backline, which is like not really much what she wants to be either, right? Like we're just not set up for this fight, even though like our backline is more or less in an okay spot, and you're in an okay spot. No one else is, right? Yeah. Again, you don't need to get aggressive with copy here, right? I really like how you're just being more patient and you're just trying to farm people as Echo, right? And then you have copy as a backup button if like you're getting run at. It's fine, I guess. Probably didn't need it, but oh, okay. We go through all three? Yeah, we went through all three. Okay. So for your Echo, generally speaking, you need to take more efficient angles. A lot of the times, like you end up like, for example, on this map, you're playing low ground all the time, right? You can shoot the people here. Just like end your flies on high ground whenever possible, unless like you're gonna get pressured, because it just gives you more options going forward, right? And then yeah, try and find more efficient angles, because like you end up down here on the other map. Can I actually get there? I think I can get there, right? This is up there, I think. Let's go. We're almost there. All right. This map, you sort of let the ball get by you because you're so focused on the angle that the rest of your team is shooting at, right? But like again, that's not how like poke comps work. You need to take as many angles as possible, right? So like here, right, like the ball's here, right? You have the opportunity to fly this way and apply pressure while still getting help from your team rotating left side, right? But you kind of ignored the side of the map. You went left side, and then you got hit from the right side. It's like, oh no, surprise! People are getting booped, right? And it's very preventable. If like you just like were looking for it, right? Just generally, you're just not playing aggressive enough. And then when you do play aggressive, it's like, I'm gonna fly up, I'm gonna copy this thing, right? But it's like you flew up, your ball's going in, just like coordinate with what your ball's doing, just kill that guy, right? And then that way you're there. You don't even have to use stickies for it, right? Now you're camping with your team, right? And now they can't res, right? Or they do try to res, you just kill her because like you have stickies ready. But you have a tendency to like kind of play a bit too much on your own, or like you're trying to focus too much on what your team's doing for like angles, and then when like your team is fighting stuff, you're too focused on what you're doing, right? So like on this map as well, going back down, right? Like you got into a 1v1 with McCree instead of just like walking around and like shooting this way and then like flying up when the McCree like is basically something, and then you assassinated him, right? And so you like took the duel, right? You forced the copy, and then like drop down, and then next thing you know you're in the middle of the enemy team and you lose your copy, right? So you got a very low copy that you use exclusively to win the duel, right? As opposed to like, I don't really mind it in the sense that like you used it to like when you were like getting pressured and you're low, right? But you took it pretty much just for a duel, right? And you got a low value copy and you run out of the corner and they just kill you, right? Yeah. So I guess pay more attention to what your ball's doing. Try to play around what he's doing more, right? And try to get your like if this McCree's alone, just ask your ball to come kill you with come kill him with you, right? And that way you can save your copy for when the ball goes in on the main tank, right? And then you just copy the Ryan. Now you have a ball and a Ryan on top of the enemy Ryan, it's good, right? But yeah, so play more independent angles. Make sure you have help from your team, especially when you're on Tracer. Play around what your ball's doing more, and I think those are the most important things. Your copies are kind of low value, but those are more symptoms than like actual problems. Um, yeah. If you have any questions about anything, please let me know. I'll end the VOD here.